I didn't know, I didn't care. I knew it wasn't me. But I will tell you a little story that most challenging for me was not anything, everything emotionally challenging was with Miss Lee. And that was a breeze compared to this scene with Donna, who had to be very sexy scene with an orchid. That was a symbol, you see. And but between cut and take, she would run off and jump into Kyle's arms, who she said, "Because you're psycho." Well, I'd never seen anything like that in my life, and that was the most. Yeah. Well, I couldn't concentrate. I know. Anyway.
What do you think? Who did you think killed Laura? Before who?
Leo.
That's what I thought too. That's what Ray Wise thought. Ben Horn. Or if he didn't do it, he was the one behind it.
And I would have built a case against him because he was fooling around with Piper.
Yeah, but he was fooling around a lot more than Piper. He had that whorehouse up north going strong. And of course the Renault brothers. I killed Jacques.
Yeah.
And I don't feel one bit sorry for it either.
You just reminded me about a few other scenes that were really hard to do. That I had completely erased from my memory bank. Next festival. We hope you come again. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure my parents have erased those scenes from their minds as well. God bless them and how they ever got through those few years. Anyway, who did I think did it? I had absolutely no idea. The funny thing was, though, everybody was convinced that we knew. The press was convinced that we knew. The public was convinced that we knew. And we had no idea. And people were trying to pay us to tell them who it was. And none of us knew. I didn't know anything until, as Ray said, we were in David's office that had brown shag carpet or brown carpet on the floors, ceiling, and wall with no furniture, just one little light that was like a waterfall in the corner, and we were sitting cross-legged. That we found out, which was actually the day that we were shooting, right?
Yeah, the day we shot the reviews.
More killing. Yet.
The day that I killed Maddie, remember that day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I killed Maddie, yeah. Remember I pushed her into that picture on the wall, Missoula, Montana, wherever the hell that was. Another David Lynch reference, and then I beat her to death, and Ben Horn beat her to death that day, and Bob beat her to death that day, the three of us. She got beaten to death 3 times that day. And she shot for about 14 hours that day. And I've never seen anybody stand up to that kind of abuse for that long. Really, it was and walk away.
That's not something to be proud of.
You were amazing. You were absolutely amazing. And just as a side note, I remember this little one here. When she wasn't doing her scenes, she would hang around and watch other people do their scenes. And I remember seeing her hiding behind palm trees in the Great Northern lobby while I was doing a scene or doing my dance or doing something, and she would be there. She was amazing, and I always saw her sweet little face hiding somewhere around the corner.
I thought that the killer was Frank the lighting guy. Because that's who David told me he was the killer. But he also told me not to tell anyone, so I kept it a secret. And so it took me a while before I realized it was the same that you were,
Because you're referring to Frank
Yes.
Silva, correct?
yes, who was the lighting guy, but who scared me one day when we were filming the scene on the railroad tracks, and he was at the end of the tracks with all the rest of the crew, just one guy standing in a crowd who was so scary looking to me, and he turned out to be a really nice guy, but I didn't know it, and so I asked David to come over between takes, and I asked him, who is that guy? Does he have to be there? Because he's scaring me. And David said, that is the bad guy, but don't tell anyone.
On that note, we're going to take our break. We're going to do a 10-minute break, and anyone who has a costume, please get into it in this 10-minute period.